That's why I wanted a fan.
OSHA?
It's an OSHA violation.
Oh, yeah, that's when the guy that I work with, he was inside the chipper.
Right now,
I looked down from a tree. Wait.
Coming up on the DLS Stars podcast on a Tuesday, we're going to find out. Luds has a story about a guy in a wood chipper. I want to hear the answer now. But no, in all seriousness, as I try to knock stuff off the table, Sean's here today. We've got some interesting social media rumors that we've got to address. And, yeah, we're not done talking about Oettinger and DeBoer. That and a lot more here on the DLS Stars podcast on a Tuesday.
Get it ready, boys.
This is the DLLS Stars podcast. Our Stanley Cup playoff coverage is brought to you by Bud Light. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly. And by Happiest Hour, your home base and the best place to catch the Stanley Cup final. Just steps away from the AAC. The ultimate spot with 50-plus beers and 40-plus TVs. For all the big moments every single game day. Happiest Hour, your favorite spot for the Stanley Cup final. Before we get into today's show, guess what? DLLS has a brand new ball knower bonus, and it's a double challenge for this one. You can win a gift card to the ALLCITY merch store if you make your pick correctly. Here's how it works. First, pick a winner. Start by picking the winner for Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final or Game 1 of the NBA Finals. You could do either or both. Make a purchase. Browse our store. Make a purchase of at least $25 or more. If your pick wins, you will win a gift card for the same amount as the original order. We've done it a couple of times now here on DLS, but here's the most important thing. You must click on our link. It's in the chat of the show and the YouTube description to bet and get your gift card. So do you know who's going to win Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final, which is tomorrow night, or the Game 1 of the NBA Finals between the Thunder and the Pacers? For all you ball knowers, make your pick, place an order. If you pick correctly, you get a gift card from us for the same amount as your order. That's the ball knower bonus. All right, well, welcome into the show. For everybody engaged, we've got phones out everywhere. The insiders are working. It's Sean Shapiro, Sam Nestler, and of course, Craig Ludwig. Hey, Luddy, I'm going to
fired their coach.
You were inspired?
No, the Knicks fired their coach.
Oh, they did. Thibodeau?
Ago, yeah.
Well,
Squirrel.
that's what you did. That's perfect.
That's a different sport, but
hey,
you know.
Luds, I was listening to Sam's favorite podcast driving in today, and it was an offhand reference about
Ralph Stack?
University of
Whose
North
podcast?
Dakota. It was 32 Thoughts.
Oh.
Elliot Friedman, Kyle Bukauskas. They said, Kyle mentioned that he knows players in Ottawa with the Senators that claim they had a better setup at the University of North Dakota than they do in the NHL. Actually, the setup took a step back because that's how good the facilities are at North Dakota. I don't know when the last time you've been up there, but is that true? Are they fine? Are they top-end facilities?
Yeah, it wasn't like that when I was there.
They
no,
waited,
I mean, it was,
they waited till you left?
No, it was, old school stuff. They had universal gyms and, all that kind of stuff. And then, well, the owner actually had owned this is all prior to the logo fiasco, right? Yeah. And so there was a lot of money that was being donated and a building being built. Their gym is 10,000 square feet. Wow. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's unreal. And again, if you're, I think you're known for your program and how you pump people out to the NHL and things like that. But it is Grand Forks, North Dakota. So it's not when you go there, there's palm trees and sunny days and things like that.
It's not like going to UCLA or USC or something like that.
I mean, you're hitting minus 50, minus 60. That's what the wind chill. And what they don't have like snowstorms. They have snort storms. So because it's so flat out there, it's a mixture of wind, snow, and dirt.
Oh.
And so anyways, you need things to, I shouldn't say lure because I think the program kind of speaks for itself, but it's that cherry on top when players that are very serious about where they want to go, how they want to get there, and they walk into this beautiful building.
So there's
See?
diehard fans there too. I got to imagine it's like the whole city goes to those.
Oh yeah,
those
I mean
games.
it's yeah. There's not a lot. They have an unbelievable, I believe it's called D3 football program, but
Yes.
that's not in Grand Forks actually. But anyway, they're known for their D3 football when it comes to that. And then really it is a hockey.
Yeah.
It's a hockey school, I would say.
Fascinating. Okay,
what's the airport you fly into there, Lutz? Is it Fargo?
Yeah, that's the one that I tried to get Sam to go to, and then you can rent a car and actually get into Winnipeg and things like
I
that.
wasn't even sent to Winnipeg.
Yeah.
It's got,
I didn't even have a chance.
Just four gates, right? I think just 4 gates and a bar, and that's
Yeah,
all.
It's very small. It's not like they're known for their Air Force. I mean, pilots and
You walk off
flying.
the plane to your rental car.
Oh yeah, no, you literally walk
Oh,
off
yeah.
the plane out one door and
That's
you're
amazing.
outside, which is they don't want you to be. I mean, you don't want to be outside, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice in the summer. It's nice and everything, but there's not a lot of summer days. You know what I mean? It kind of starts in July and
Well, they
ends
say-
at the end of July.
It's Maine's like that too. The best weather
Well, you can
is the
talk to
summer.
Petey. Ask Petey. Petey will tell you what it's like there.
Well, he was there from there too. The summer's great, but it's like a month and a half long, and then it's winter the rest of the time.
Yeah, and I think they kind of gravitate away from Grand Forks, just a little out where there's some nice lakes and things
Yeah.
like that, Devil's Lake and things like that.
I love it. So there you have it.
We
The
gotta go.
32 Thoughts podcast reporting was accurate as we verified it from a really reliable source. Speaking of sources, we wanted to start this show today with nonsense on Twitter that might mean something or it might mean nothing. And we had a couple of speculative or rumor style tweets yesterday that kind of got the Stars Twitter a buzz. That means that Luds had no idea what was going on, but the three of us were definitely paying attention to it. So the first one was David Pagnota. Noise out of Dallas, Pete DeBoer. This is what David wrote. Per multiple sources, players are not pleased with how he handled several situations during the Western Conference Final, along with post-Game 5 and exit media remarks. Told players voiced concerns during internal exit interviews. DeBoer has 1 year left on his contract. Sean, on the face value of that, there doesn't seem to be a lot that would be disputable, or you say, yeah, that makes sense. But it kind of churned things up because of what was going on right after the elimination in Game 5, and then Glardy kind of trying to cool off possible coach change things, and then Pagnota comes out and kind of fans the flames again, or tries to get the fire started.
Well, and here's the one thing we have to remember here. There will be 31 exit interviews this year where at least one player will be disappointed. There's only one team that will have exit interviews where everyone's going to be thrilled and happy and everything like that. So you got to take that part with a grain of salt. I don't know. The key follow-up question for me would always be, because I know I've talked to lots of players after exit interviews and things like that, and depends on how open the GM is really going to let players be. And Jim Nill is a pretty open and honest GM with his players in those meetings. So this isn't the first time that players have expressed concerns with the Dallas Stars coach. I guarantee you it's happened every single exit meeting for 5 to 6 years. There's always going to be some dissenter. Somebody's going to bring something up. The key question to me, and I don't know the answer, would be which players. Because if it's one of the guys who was healthy scratched and didn't play at all in the playoffs, and they're the dissenting opinion, you're the GM, you're like, well, I have to take your opinion with a grain of salt. If it's somebody with some power in that room and influence and sway, all of a sudden it means a little bit more. So
Any alcohol in that?
Exactly. That's the other question. And I'm joking about that, to be completely clear, I'm joking about that part.
No. That was a side question
not
to
related.
Ben about a read that you have to do in about 7 minutes that had nothing to do with what you were saying. It just happened to
I
be
thought
on
we were
mine.
on mute, to be honest with you.
You were not. But there was not alcohol involved in those comments.
Well played, John.
Yes. So I have to be clear. I was joking. I was trying to just run with what Lud said there. So we don't know who actually dissented and whose opinion actually matters here. So yes, there were anger. I guarantee you there were people who were upset with how Pete DeBoer handled things. There were people who were upset with how Pete DeBoer handled things last year and the year before, and those probably came up in GM meetings. But it also happened in every other exit meeting. There's some player in Colorado who was upset with how Jared Bednar handled things. The key question here is how much of it was it? Because one or two players is not a referendum for change. And I don't know the answer, and that's the thing we have to find out.
Yeah, and Sean, correct me if I'm wrong. That is the big part, and the other part is what was the focus? Was it multiple people saying this part bugged me, or was it all 7-8 players saying the same kind of thing? Right. That's where you get a little more power to it as well, I think, and that's a key along with what you just said.
And the other key question too comes is what parts were they talking about? Now, and like as you said, are they all on the same page? Is it the same thing? But is it something where if you're Jim Nill, you have to sort? Is it something? Say it's a defenseman and they're talking about a problem. Is that a Pete DeBoer question or an Elaine Nasruddin question? Say they're talking about the power play. Is that a Steve Spott question? Like there's all these things that Jim Nill has to parse through and figure out. And I go back to one of the things that Jim himself told me. One of the most difficult things about being an NHL GM, and it's the reason the title is general manager, and it's the same reason that Ben is the general manager of DLLS. He has to deal with Ludz's problems. He has to deal with Sam's problems. He has to deal with my problems. He has to deal with Owen's problems. He has to deal with John's problems. He has to deal with all of those general problems.
I got a lot of problems too.
So we can all put this show together. Jim Nill has to deal with that with an entire hockey team of people making a ton of money, and it's to figure out how to parse through all of that. And so that's why these exit interviews, and for the GM, there's a lot to figure out, and it's a lot for him to unwind, and it's not a simple thing.
Luds, when you hear that, again, it's maybe reporting, maybe a little speculation when you see that tweet we were talking about. And I think that Sean's comment about it kind of depends on which players you're talking to, because there is a hierarchy on a roster, and there are guys that maybe or probably won't be here next year that will have different feelings when they go through their exit interview process.
Here's what I hear. A lot of ifs, maybe.
Yeah.
Don't know who, don't know when. Did it come from Jim? Jim wouldn't say a word to anyone when it comes to media.
This isn't from Jim.
I'm
chance.
saying, where is it coming from? Who is that? Like, I just don't. I for me, it's hard to comment on that because I just don't. I don't believe a lot of it until I hear it from somebody that's been in the room and can say, well, listen, and as somebody that's up here and says, yeah, you know what, I did have a conversation with whoever, and I don't see, because again, if it's not talking to Jim, it's not talking to Pete. Who are they talking to?
Well, Sean, Sam, we keep talking about a lot of the information that the NHL insiders get, just like the NFL, comes from the agents.
Yep.
So that is a bit of a password game.
Well, those are agents that are whining about ice time, or they're not. I mean, that's what they are.
Let me ask you this then, Lutz. When you were playing and you had finished the season, what kind of things would be shared in those interviews? Like if you were not necessarily something like, oh, we got to fire the coach, but if it's a general decent.
Never. It was like, how do you think the season went? It was about you personally. Had nothing to do with trainers, had nothing to do with coaches. That's just the people that I know in my history. I just started hearing about this a few years ago. Like all this stuff gets out. I've been around, again, the Bob Gainey's, the Serge Savards, guys like that nothing ever came up. So this, I mean, again, I'm just always curious about, because we know what Jim Nill's like. I mean, we know what the assistant GM, you can't get anything out of that. And really, I think that the people that they do say things to, they know that they can say them to those people because they know it isn't going any further. And again, I don't see, because if this is coming from Jamie Benn, Tyler Sagan, Miro Heiskanen, who else has got a letter on? Essa.
Yep.
I don't see any of those players throwing a coach under the bus. I don't see it, but I will be the first to say, Sean, and I've said this a few times. I wish there would be a player that a GM trusts both ways that can relay these kind of messages about team, more about not necessarily ratting on the coaches and things like that, but if there's a player in the room that's really not buying in, which you kind of see that anyways, because I've had a GM come to me and ask me, what do you think about this? Can we handle this as a group? Yes, we can. So, but to get in that depth, I just never. I guess I don't put too much in it. Just like all these guys that are reporting.
I know you're throwing this at Sean, but I want to follow up with you real quick. When you were put in that position, what do you think? Were you uncomfortable?
I played with the guy as a teammate, so we knew each other well enough that I could share things.
But were you? You talked about Gainey talking to you or whatever, but were you ever uncomfortable going, I don't want to betray the trust of either side.
I never betrayed the trust of the player.
Right.
No, I didn't even use the player's name.
Right.
Is
so
there,
you'd be almost like there is a player, but
and I wasn't asked the name because they knew that I wouldn't give it to him, and so it was more about because the reason it was asked to me is because there's already been something out there, and
somebody else had heard something.
They already knew who the player was or players or whatever.
So you were more like a confirmation then?
It was just I've heard the same thing.
Yeah,
and if there was probably a time or two or more that I was actually with the player, and I'd go, yeah, no, I was there.
Yeah,
but we're good. You know what I mean? Like, and it wasn't about a team makeup. It could have been just something off ice.
Yeah.
And generally that's probably why I got knocked on my door, because if I wasn't involved, I probably knew about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's fair. I mean, I got it. But it's different when you have those kind of players. And I guess I'm talking about myself right now, that they knew that I could be an idiot or a clown off ice, but I would show up to do my part. And there's other guys that can't. And so that was more about those conversations to be, and I'm talking performance only, is that we need, they'll listen to you and say, do as I say, don't do as I do kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why, I mean, I know it's all good topics and it's out there and everything's out there. And I think sometimes it's hard on the coaches, the players, because they know, I mean, they're like, really? Is there anybody up there talking about me? I mean, now all of a sudden there goes your confidence in your team or whatever it may be.
All right, we have a little bit more on this topic, and then we're going to keep moving here. So let's carry this over on the DLS Stars podcast.
All right, let's talk about the Wendy's Frosty Shop. If you love Wendy's classic Frosty flavors, we have some big news. There are all new Frosty Swirl and Frosty Fusion flavors you can get in either chocolate or vanilla. So it's the same creamy treat you've always loved, and now with a flavor refresh. So what are all these new flavors? Well, thanks for asking. Okay, we've got Frosty Swirls, strawberry, brownie, batter, and caramel. Stop laughing, you guys. Then we've got the thoroughly blended and mixed Frosty Fusions, Oreo brownie, caramel crunch, and Pop-Tart strawberry. Not to mention that, yes, you can still get vanilla. Try them all to find your favorite. Are you going to be a strawberry swirl girl, a caramel crazed fanatic, brownie batter buff, Pop-Tart strawberry freak with a street strawberry sauce and chunks of crazy good Pop-Tarts pieces, Oreo brownie stand with swirled thick brownie batter, sauce, and crunchy Oreo cookies pieces. Anyway, whatever flavor you're craving, odds are we've got a Frosty for it. So clock in for a sweet treat anytime, including midnight or later, with Wendy's all-new Frosty flavors. A refresh on a classic? Gotta be Wendy's. At participating U.S. Wendy's, hours may vary by location.
Sean, we apologize, but you're not in studio, so we got Frosties.
That's
and they brought them.
I
have Pop-Tarts pieces in it.
Mine has the cookies and cream with the chocolate. It's delicious. And I ate a lot of it. It's starting to melt because I started eating it before the show and then was said, hey, you should eat it on the show. Let's talk about Shady Rays for a minute.
You and ice cream. You and ice cream.
Yeah, I definitely like that.
By the way, mine has cookies and Kahlua.
What do you think?
It's pretty damn good.
All right, let's talk about Shady Rays for a minute. You know that moment, the one you realize you left your favorite sunglasses at the beach or on the roof of your car or at a gas station 3 states away? Well, I've been there too. Thankfully, we found Shady Rays, and it changed the game. These sunglasses are made for real life, seriously good-looking, polarized, durable, and not stupidly expensive. And here's the wild part. If you lose them or break them, even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair, no guilt trip, just replacements. So now I actually wear my sunglasses without fear. At concerts, on the boat, wherever, Shady Rays has eyewear that has your back. We've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com. Use the code DLLS for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. We had to go long on that one because these are pretty darn good. I'm trying not to
John's eating the
spill
Pop-Tart one.
I don't blame him. I bet it's delicious.
I'm curious. It's chocolate with Pop-Tart, right? Like
it's the
I feel like
chocolate
it would have
frosty.
been vanilla with
you
Pop-Tart,
could do
right?
both.
Oh, you can do
if
whichever.
you listened
I
closely
wasn't
to
listening. I
Sean's
was
read,
laughing.
Yeah,
you can do both.
Yeah.
Right,
did you say before the show, Owen, that your son eats Pop-Tarts without toasting them?
He did.
Sometimes. Depends on if he feels in the mood.
That's how I eat Pop-Tarts. For a long time, I did not know you could actually toast a Pop-Tart.
I used to microwave them.
I would just eat them. No, I would just eat them raw. I would
Wait,
just grab
you
them
raw.
microwaved your Pop-Tart because you had to zap fry it in 3
I
seconds?
think it was like a quick, those like the ones that were really bad for you, like chocolate, fudge,
But you
Oreo,
couldn't wait
whatever.
in the toaster for
No, not a
what,
chance.
30 seconds?
You put it in the microwave 1, 2, 3, and you're in your bed eating Pop-Tarts. It's
My
the best
God.
time.
And you eat Pop-Tarts in bed.
That's a long time ago. It's high school.
Well, he's in there alone.
Last
What
week.
else is he
That's
gonna
when I
do?
was cool in high school.
Hey, John, throw up that Kevin Weeks tweet, if you would so kindly, sir. So we have a couple more here. This was the big one. As you can see, over 1 million views yesterday. Kevin Weeks with his classic eyeballs tweet and a picture of the front of the American Airlines Center.
No forehead this time.
No forehead. Usually like to do the forehead in this. Sean, you know Kevin a little bit. I've met him a couple of times. He likes and does have some pretty good insider information, but this is a tricky one because it leads to a lot of rampant speculation without any details.
Oh, he's definitely it's a large hedge here. And my first thought when I saw that, I was thinking, Kevin, did your flight get rerouted? Are you aware that the Stanley Cup Final Media Day is actually in Edmonton and not Dallas? Because that was my first take on that. It's also a complete eyeballs could mean anything. I mean, Brad Alberts tweets out. I mean, maybe he's just a tribute to Brad Alberts and his eyeballs before something happens too. So there's things happening with the Stars. There's a lot of rumblings or whatever, like fine, but it could mean, as the little thing is right below me, well done, Bailey and John right there. I mean, it could just be Gary Bettman is speaking tomorrow, and Gary Bettman likes to announce things at the Stanley Cup Final. He could be announcing the outdoor game. There could be the outdoor game could be announced in Dallas, and that could be coming out soon. We saw last week, Sam and I were there when Gary Bettman spoke with reporters on Thursday, and he did the little Gary Bettman shrug where Gary likes giving full, nice presentations. So maybe that's what it is. So it could be, honestly, could it be connected to the Stars and something bigger, player wise, coaching wise? I guess, but when you do just eyeballs, you have the ability to say no matter what happens, you predicted it. So that's why I just kind of.
Doesn't it feel like if Weeks did his thing and the Pagnota tweet didn't go out, then everyone wouldn't have just immediately thought of Pete DeBoer? Yeah,
but here's the other thing. Like the other thing you have to go off of with hockey media, and it's a quick media literacy thing. All of the same sources talk to most of the same people. It just honestly, that's what happens a ton. There's a lot of people who feed a lot of things to the same things. And so when you have Kevin Weeks and Dave Pagnota saying something, doing eyeball emojis and something happening with the Stars, I believe that there was some discontent in those exit meetings. But for there to be something more, I have a hard time believing that whoever is feeding that to them is not feeding it to Elliot Friedman or Pierre LeBrun or to Frank Saravalli or to any of the other. I'm gonna ruffle some feathers, unfortunately here, but some of the someone from the A team, right? Like people who don't deal in speculative, people who only deal in certainties, and so it's not. It's that. This is, there might be something here. There might be smoke. There might be something there to this, but. Right now, I haven't tweeted anything about this. I don't feel I haven't tweeted anything about this. Do I feel good enough to stake my reputation on anything related to the Stars? Not at all. And I know things about the Stars. There's things that I hear, and I know things that I would never stake my reputation off what I've heard right now to even try to hint at anything. So that's kind of where this is for me. And it's a
and that sounds like Luds too, because Luds knows things, but he never wants to talk about it publicly.
No, I'm sitting here eating my Wendy's.
Chocolate all over.
No, I'm seriously. I'm sitting here eating my Wendy's shake or whatever this thing's called.
Frosty.
And I'm thinking to myself, this is why you guys are writers. Because you just saw the picture of an outdoor building and you talk for 7 minutes. And you have ways of putting up 500 words or whatever it may be. And you know what? Nothing. I got nothing on it.
Nothing.
Nobody knows anything.
Yeah.
No,
good for you guys. I don't. I'll just keep eating my little candy cone.
He's enjoying it too. Candy cone.
Oh, what the hell? Whatever.
It's a Frosty Luds.
Hey, I didn't have anything to eat yet today. I had a bag of chips, right?
Well, now you're getting some protein or some dairy.
The first time you're just a kind of a media thing, right? The first time you're wrong on something, and you do something like this. And for me, luckily, it wasn't at the highest level. Luckily, it happened for me. And this is one of the reasons where, from a quick soapbox perspective, I think covering high school sports, covering minor league sports before you ever cover the top leagues is so important. You learn and you get to figure things out and make mistakes that aren't this large. And I've made mistakes in my career. I've been wrong on things. It was something that thankfully I made a bunch of those mistakes as a college journalist, or even as a small town newspaper guy in Kerrville, Texas at the time. But that's where you learn that if you're going to go and do this, you better be able to answer the question.
7 minutes? I meant 11 minutes.
Yeah, we're going to keep going, Luds. Luds, get another one. Eat Sam's too.
I'm just saying,
No, John's eating Sam's.
Kevin Weeks and Dave Pagnotta just accomplished exactly what they're going for.
Yeah.
This is what they're going for.
To spark attention and clicks and conversation.
They did.
Sam,
They did.
you even had to dial it back because you saw that, and then you had to face a little bit, not backlash, but pushback on Twitter.
Well, I just forgot. I forget sometimes that I have somewhat of a platform now. I'm used to just seeing something from the Stars and saying something about it,
and nobody answers
7
you.
people see it. Now, if I put an upside down face, all I was saying was I have no idea what's going on, and people thought that I was on the inside of it. I'm not on the inside of it. I didn't hear anything about it. As Sean said, I would be 100% sure before I did anything, but I'm not on the inside with Weeksy. But my take
Sam
is
can't even get to the insides of buildings out.
Exactly. I can't even get to the city that I'm trying to go to. But Sean, my one question for you is, and I think that we all understand it, but for fans, what few topics are the hot spots right now? Why did this one thing set a bunch of Stars fans off? What are the triggers that are around the Stars right now?
Well, it's because people don't believe Tom Ghilardi at his word. When Tom Ghilardi said the other day in the reported column from Tim Cowlishaw in the Dallas Morning News, he said Pete DeBoer is the coach next year. I mean, the Stars owner went and said that, and I'm kind of holding the Stars owner his word at that. So people think maybe something changed and maybe Tom Ghilardi's not telling the truth in that comment, which is highly possible. But right now, the most actionable intel for me is Tom Ghilardi said Pete DeBoer is the head coach, and he's going to have a big say in that. So that's kind of where it all goes. If we want to talk about where things could go next year and hot seats versus things like that, that's completely fine. But there are and there's also been words of big changes. I don't know what big changes even means, right? That's the other thing where it's there could be, does big changes mean Mikko Rantanen was a big change?
Well, Sean, to your point,
change, right? Yeah.
Check out this was from one of the new members on the Stars media beat. She was here.
Oh God, we got more.
Savannah Moeller, and she put this here just to what you said, Sean, about big changes, and that got a lot of attention and leaves a lot of questions, right?
Yeah, I mean, what does big changes mean? I have no idea what big changes mean. Do you consider one assistant coach change being a big change? Do you consider not re-signing Matt Duchene a big change? Do you consider
a new third sweater?
Yeah, exactly. What does a big change mean? So either way, do you consider a big change getting Luds a second Frosty? These are the important questions that we all need to answer. Yeah. Go get one for him, please.
Hey, Luds, you can always take the lid off and you can get down to the lower part easier.
It's kind of like a safety feature.
He's trying to keep you from eating it all.
Safety feature in his candy cone.
By the way, our chat is having a lot of fun. They love Luds. Luds, is the Frosty better than a malt?
No.
So you want malt.
You're a big Johnny Rockets guy.
Blip said Bettman will be announcing that his Grundle smells like Mount Fuji.
Fair.
And just a whole bunch of they love Luds. Everything about it. The Allie said that the candy cone comment that you just made her choke and laugh too hard. So there you have it.
The candy cone?
Yeah. It's a Frosty. You called it the candy cone. You didn't even remember.
I'm not even sure what that is.
Taylor said, how can you not love Luds? They're just loving it.
Candy cone Canadian?
I don't know. I'm not Canadian.
The Canadian cone.
So just to wrap this up real quick before we get to our next segment, Sean, the big thing of this is that it was such a stir up because of social media and this lack of real information that we all, I don't know about Luds, but I know that Sam and I know you did, and I had people texting us going, what do you know? What's happening? Kind of freaking out about it or trying to find out information that may not be there to be shared.
Yeah, I mean, I have at least a dozen texts asking me, "Is Pete DeBoer fired? Is this that? Is this or that?"
Yeah.
That's what this stuff does, and that's why, just from a media soapbox here, be responsible with what you say, and don't be the person at the party who says, "Oh, I guess what I know that you don't know." Oh, don't be that person. Don't be that person. Just report something. If you know it, report it. Great. If not, just
keep it to yourself.
Wait until you. Just good reporting takes time. Take the time.
Be honest about it.
Put your name on it.
Yeah, be honest about it. Like, if you don't know anything, say you don't know anything.
Hey, I don't know anything, but I'm going to say this. That sounds a little risky. All right. We're going to carry over the Bettman side of it. And also, Sean wrote an article in D Magazine because talking about Oettinger and DeBoer, boy, it leads right into what Sean wrote in D Magazine. We're going to talk about that next here on the DLLS Stars podcast.
We're going from a Wendy's shake to men's balls. Frosty on the men's balls. Mando is a men's deodorant brand that's hyper-focused on keeping every aspect of a man's body smelling fresh and clean. Mando overtly calls out more colorful parts of men's bodies, such as pits, belly buttons, butt cracks, grundles, the nacho, the taint, the ancient gooch. Their sweet scents are geared towards men with options like bourbon leather, cloverwoods, Mount Fuji, and more. Created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. My tongue is frozen from the Frosty. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, a cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like mini body wash and deodorant wipes. As a special offer for listeners and Wendy's, new customers get $5 off beanbag starter packs with our exclusive code, and you will get a free Frosty. Use code DLLS at shopmando.com. We don't give Frosties away with Mando? Well, they kind of go hand in hand, because if you eat enough Frosties, you're going to need some Mando sooner or later.
All right, let's talk about Empire Today. Just like your favorite team needs a home ice advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage, and Empire Today can help you get it. Empire Today has flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. We all know the big box stores, people there that are on flooring that were doing something completely different before. Empire Today is the best for flooring. We have it right here. It has held up with many spills, specifically from General Manager Ben. So schedule a free in-home estimate today, because some things are just better at home. DLS listeners can receive a $350 discount when using promo code DLLS. Yes, you heard that right. That's $350 discount with code DLLS. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday/DLLS for details.
All right. Yeah, John is eating his Frosty, and Luds is...
past tense. I ate.
John has passed my Frosty.
Yeah, they didn't share spoons. Sam held it up, but then John ate it.
I'm just permanently sick, so I don't share anything with anybody.
Sam and I, Lady and the Tramp, the Frosty.
Luds has got about halfway
I was
through
just
so
talking
far.
with Katie about that yesterday. I never done that. Have you guys done the Lady and the Tramp?
No. With the spaghetti?
We got to do it, right? Like, not us,
Hard
but
pass.
like with someone else.
Hard pass.
Like with a wife or a fiance.
Hey, anytime
Luds.
you want to play the squirrel reference,
I plead the
please
fifth.
feel free.
He said it.
Squirrel.
All right. Sean, the comments in the conversation about the speculation we had leads right into both what we're going to talk about now and then what we're going to talk about Gary Bettman. So even though it says it on the scroll, we're actually having, because we went longer on our first topic, we're getting to the Bettman stuff, but we're going to talk about your article in D Magazine right now, because it pertains to Jake Oettinger and Pete DeBoer. And you had enough in there that I didn't think it was just a retread of our conversation yesterday, where we played the comments from Jake and Pete on Saturday's end of season media availability, particularly how Jake Oettinger connects with the rest of the roster. I thought was really interesting. So please enlighten us and the panel here and tell us a little bit more about what you posted in D Magazine.
Well, I did listen to your guys' show for yesterday, because DLS Stars podcast is my favorite podcast, unlike Sam's, whose favorite podcast is a different podcast. But this is my favorite. This is my favorite podcast. So
as it should be. And Sean's on like 7, so he knows.
Yeah.
Yes. Please don't go check what I say on other podcasts right now to back that up. But right now, this is the.
Oh, so you say you're basically whoring yourself out to whichever one you're on?
Can you say that?
Yes.
He just did.
I just did.
Yeah.
There's another T-shirt.
Actually, you know what, Luds, you can't say that. The rest of us can. You'll run into the ground.
This one's so much fun. This should not just be a Tuesday.
Give Luds
I
an
love
inch,
it.
he'll take it a mile.
Go, Sean.
I was just waiting. I had the column in D Magazine that ran yesterday, and you guys obviously touched on a bunch of things with Jake Oettinger and Pete DeBoer. And to me, one of the big things about this, and even the column I wrote, it wasn't about Pete DeBoer's job status here on July 3rd or June 3rd. It's more so of what this all means for communication and moving forward. And I think Sam was listen back to the audio. I think Sam was actually the one who asked Pete the question if him and Jake had spoken before the media availability.
He did.
And when Pete's answer was pretty enlightening in a negative way for me, where it's fine. We don't need to debate the pull or not pull or whatever. You can have whatever opinion you want on that, but you can't leave your starting goalie. You can't do that and put him in a spot where he's embarrassed on national television and then talk to the media twice before you ever talk. And Jake is not a hard guy to get a hold of. I wrote in that story, I texted with Jake over the weekend. And if he's taking time to answer a text from Sean Shapiro, he definitely has time for a text from Pete DeBoer and a call from Pete DeBoer. So that stood out to me. And then the other thing, just from a long term, Pete's going into a spot where the story with Pete DeBoer is he typically year 3 and about halfway through after 3 years and halfway through year 4 is when things typically fall apart. It's when he typically loses the room. Now, I don't know if that's a Pete DeBoer thing or a coach thing in general, because I think that's a whole nother conversation. So one of Pete's greatest allies, though, would have been Jake Oettinger. The Stars, every NHL team has cliques, has groups, right? The Finns go out to dinner together. There's groups that golf together. There's young guys that hang out here and there. Jake Oettinger is one of the few guys on that team that kind of travels between and connects through all the cliques. He's the one who he goes and golfs. He schedules golf outings regularly with the group. He's him and Mason Marchment are typically golfing with actually Brendan Smith and Matt Dunbar is the most frequent people they golf with, but also others join them as well. And then you have Jake's wife has a big voice in the wives and girlfriends group there. And then Jake's the one who goes and finds the saunas for the Finnish contingent on the road. Like, this is the guy who's the party planner of the group. This is a guy who he's a goalie, but because of that, I know Jake represents a lot of what Luds was for the 99 Stars. And
I was just going to say, when you said party planner, I thought of Luds.
Yeah.
Luds, did you, whether you knew it or not, were you a go-between between internal cliques in the team?
All I know is we did our job and won.
Yeah.
End of story.
So Luds is
party planner.
Luds is
was I a party planner?
Well,
Yeah.
just in terms of you know how they're.
But I knew when to plan the parties. And
Right.
I know
this
where
is
to plan
positive.
them.
Look, I know you didn't listen while I was talking to you. Okay.
Honest to God, I was not listening.
It was a
I
positive
know,
thing.
I'm
No, this is actually
I'm
it's not a criticism. This is a compliment.
Well, I'm not used to that.
I know. That's why we're going to repeat it.
I'm complimenting you. So I'm complimenting you, Luds, and you are the type. Your personality was the type of personality that ties teams together. Jake very much has that personality within the Stars room. When you as a coach, and Jake is not going to poison the well on Pete. He's too professional for that. But there are elements where Jake now not taking the time to communicate with that guy and be in that guy's good graces. They don't help you when you have to win the room back after losing 4 or 5 games in November or December. That's where I go on this.
Yep.
So
I think I said it yesterday. We know who has the favor there between Jake and Pete, right? We know if something, I said, if everything goes great, they're all good. Jake knows it'll be fine. If it doesn't go well at the beginning of next year and things are bumpy and questions are asked, we know who gets. Jake's on an 8-year extension. He's the franchise goalie. Pete DeBoer is a coach who has, as Sean said, reached his end, and all coaches do now. It just felt like it just felt so easy, and maybe we're overlooking it, but it just felt like something. Even I said it to Luds yesterday. Even just go, hey Jake, sorry the way that played out. Like that was overblown. That wasn't how it was supposed to be. All you have to say is that, really, for Jake to probably sweep it under the rug.
Yeah.
The fact that they didn't talk really was surprising to me as well.
Sean, do you think that part of the DeBoer not talking to Jake immediately could have been a couple different things where if you're DeBoer, you kind of think, well, you know what? Yeah, I did the wrong thing, or I said the wrong thing, however we want to word that. Maybe he didn't talk to him because he wanted Jake to maybe calm down a little bit, give it some space. But again, I would be the guy that goes immediately. Like, well, it could have been that night. But I'm just saying, could it be possible to go? What was that interview? What was the day when he said no? I hadn't spoken to him.
That was Saturday.
So
Saturday. So that was a couple
after.
days later.
Yes.
Do you think he? I'm guessing. Do we know if they've talked yet? Are you guys reporting any of that I don't know about either?
No.
As far as I don't know. That's between them. I don't know. But as of I believe it was as of Sunday afternoon, I know they hadn't spoken. So I don't. That's all I know as far as
Really?
right now.
So the day after,
And Jake's going on
that meeting.
vacation today,
Well, since half the country is getting him fired, he probably figures he doesn't have to talk to him anymore. He's not going to be his goalie anymore. I don't know, but I'm just saying. I was just kind of curious. Would there be some logic in? Just let's wait a couple days. We both kind of calm down, and then. But I would shoot the text and say, "Hey, let's plan something for Saturday or Sunday to go over this." I don't know. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think the 24-hour rule can apply here, but the 24-hour rule gets you to Friday night. The bigger thing to me is going. You don't go and talk to Sam and Owen and everyone else in that media room a second time before you talk to Jake again, and you don't like it. That's kind of the irony of this is it was. And Sam can give the order of how the people were in the room, but you guys talked to Jake in the same spot that I believe you probably spoke to Pete 25, 30 minutes later. So they're in the same spot. That's the spot where it's smart coaching, it's smart management, crisis management, and this is a very minor crisis, but it's smart crisis management to just literally have the conversation of, hey, anything you need to say to me, anything I need to say to you, let's be on the same page before we go to the media. Like, those are very simple little things that take 5 minutes. And you to not have and I give Pete credit. He was very honest in his answer. He said, I haven't had time for that. I also struggle to find what else he was doing because it's not like he had to prep for another hockey game after losing on Thursday.
Yeah. Sean or Luds, either way, whoever knows, they also had their exit interviews that day. So aren't Pete and Jake technically
everybody
still
all on Saturday
talking? I thought so. Because, Jake left.
Here we go again.
2 days
I
later.
have no idea.
I don't know.
I'm just curious, like, if you have your exit interview, that was their team meeting. They had a meeting before they spoke to us. And then these exit interviews were apparently supposed to be them because a bunch of guys left right after that and went home.
Like
so
departed Dallas.
like
you're
departed
saying.
Dallas either Saturday or Sunday or yesterday. So I'm just curious how that, like, did they have to at least talk at all?
I don't know the timeline, and I'm not going to pretend to make something up.
Yeah.
So I don't know the exact timeline on that.
Hey guys, Ali asked a great question in the chat, so I want to bring it up. If Pete DeBoer's job is not on the line after all this, what would be the nail in the coffin for him? What would be the line?
Isn't this kind of going into, what do we call it, dead man walking if you're on the last year of a deal and you don't have a new deal as far as a head coach?
Lame duck coach is what they call it.
Prove it deals, right? With
well,
coaches.
but I mean, isn't that kind of one of the things that the coaches and GMs don't want is to have a coach in that position? So would you bring them back if you're, oh man, I'm not going here.
Well, here's
because I don't know again.
Yeah, here's my answer to Ali, I guess. The Stars, to me, look like a team and sound like a team that is fully understanding they have been a great regular season team. That's not good enough. They believe their style makes them a really good regular season team, gets them into the playoffs, and then it falls short when they have to play a different style. If that's the case,
Stars as a players
as
or
organization,
front office?
Organization.
Yeah.
I believe they believe that they need to change somewhat of their structure and their style. So if that's the case, what in the first 3 months of the regular season could show you that Pete is not your coach anymore? Right? Like, it's not like if they lose 6 games in November, they're going to be like, oh, you know what? This is probably different.
The only way that and honestly, I was watching Game 5 a little bit. I went back and watched the Jake polling and then the ESPN conversation because Sean McDonough, who's calling the game with Ray Ferraro, they had quite a conversation about it when he was pulled. And then, of course, later when Jake came back out from the room and sat next to him, there were some of those, like Ray's standing there. We can talk about this more on another show of, hey, I'm looking at the monitor. We're showing the polling. Jake's looking at it right now because I'm standing next to him. But when I watched one of the angles, they replayed the timeout. This is before he yelled, Jake, get off the ice. Pete's talking to all the players, and you can see guys are nodding their heads. They're listening. They're engaged. Miro's shaking his head. Blackwell, I saw nodding. Like, they're hearing Pete say stuff. This didn't look like a team that had tuned out their coach or switched off. And you can see it. They had, I know they gave up a goal less than like a minute later with DeSmith in, but they still fought. It didn't. But to me, and Sean, this is, I think, goes to the what does he have to do to get an extension? Does he have to get over the hump of the Western Conference Final? Is anything short of making it to round 4 next year grounds for not renewing his contract when it's up?
You know what this is? This is Barry Trotz before the 2017-18 season. Barry Trotz won a championship, then took his money and went to the Islanders. I think it's very much that. This is Pete and the Stars are probably, he could go win a championship and then maybe signs an extension and do that. But to me, this is very similar to what happened with Barry Trotz in the end of his time in Washington. Went into that season as a lame duck head coach. The team had really good success, and then he ended up taking more money to go somewhere else and fit something out. But that's me. So that's what I see happening in Dallas. I see it's kind of this, how does this season play out? And if you're Dallas, I think getting over where you've been, losing 4 straight Western Conference finals is not going to be enough to bring back Pete DeBoer, I don't think.
Yeah.
But
So
Sean, wasn't a lot of that had to do with they did not want to pay him what he thought he was worth at that point?
I think so.
It was
Yeah.
basically, okay.
You're talking about Barry Trotz.
Yeah, I'm talking about Trotz. Yeah. So we just decided to part ways. I can get more money and I got my cup, all that kind of stuff.
At the end of it, though, that's what happened after he won. It's similar going in, where they didn't have a deal before the season, and so it's similar going in. But the end is definitely an interesting thing, because if you win a cup as a coach, you can ask for quite a few more dollars.
Yeah. So
This
really,
is the same thing that happened to Cassidy too when he was in Boston.
Yes.
I mean, he went through and done, and everything's good, and we're gonna be back, and then 3 days later he's out because of a couple guys go in and start whining that
And they
didn't get
lost
this or
in
get
the
that.
cup final.
Yeah.
I was waiting for that to come.
yeah.
then he-
So
I was waiting for the knife.
Well, no,
And
that's not a
then he
shot.
proved everybody wrong and just went to Vegas and won a cup.
yeah. So
There-
that, so
there
that's
are
the-
many
it's
That
free
was
Frosty.
after the first round loss to the Hurricanes, though, I believe. And
Was it the year after the St. Louis loss?
Yes, or it was a year or two after, but
Okay.
it was because there was a lot of Jake DeBrusk issues that season, so of course everyone was like immediately like, okay, it's Jake DeBrusk. We come to find out it was also Brandon Carlo and Trent Frederick and Nick Foligno of all
I should have
people.
not brought up.
And then
Boston.
Pete Blackburn, actually, the show I was producing in Boston at the time, he came on and he was like, yeah, I've heard some even bigger names were also in on that.
So there was a lot going on there.
Because Don Sweeney told Bruce Cassidy he was safe, and then they
And
had
he
the
wasn't.
exit meetings and he drove to his house and fired him.
There
So-
needs to, in all of this, there needs to be more talk about what the owner said. That's what I was interested in. Let's get a team that can win in the playoffs.
Yeah, and
There's been other people whining about that for a while. Let's get a team.
We're gonna
that can
we're
play
gonna
and-
talk
play and
about
win in the
that
playoffs.
and especially the offense later this week, because there's some really interesting things, and we're gonna have Luds do some breakdowns of it. But next, let's talk about, before he has another press conference, what Gary Bettman said to Sean, Sam, and some other Dallas media during right before Game 5 here on the DLS Stars podcast. All right, let's talk about a couple of things here. We start with the DLS Die Hard mock draft with Charlie O'Connor from PHLY. That's the Philadelphia branch of ALLCITY Network. It's available. Go right to our website, alldlls.com. And Charlie has just put his first mock draft. It covers the entire first round, 32 picks. Yes, we know that
good.
Dallas
I read
does
it
not
today.
have a pick. Sam, you read it? What'd you think?
yeah, it was good. It was really. I didn't really know that it was happening because I probably wasn't paying attention, but it was a good
See,
read.
I'm not
very,
the only one.
very detailed. Broke down, like you said, a mock draft and kind of give a little insight on why it would fit for that certain team. So it was good.
So that's on alldls.com if you'd like to see Charlie's going through. Again, we know the Stars don't have a first round pick, but it's still interesting to see what he has as we get closer to the June 27th first round of the 2025 NHL entry draft. And speaking of DLLS, we have a Vegas trip planned for the Cowboys show. That kind of gets under grinds his gears a little bit, because we were talking yesterday about what could we do to do a Star show. Well, DLS is off to Vegas. They are going to do a trip for the Monday night football game between the Cowboys and the Las Vegas Raiders at Allegiant Stadium. First time ever, I believe, playing at that new stadium for the Cowboys. And they're going to stay at the Mandalay Bay. We're talking about a fantastic resort casino, wonderful whole trip itinerary, including you don't have to be coming from DFW. You can go from parts all over the place and meet up with the Cowboys show. Should be a lot of fun. I'm sure that free time in Vegas will be handled in a very mature and responsible way. If you are not already a DLS diehard, sign up, because DLS diehards get 20% off events. That's important. And of course, you get a shirt of your choice when you sign up for your first year of annual subscription. The Oettinger shirt, the Finnish Mafia, the Wyatt 16-bit, the Mikko finisher, you name it. The Moose, the Captain, lots more to get to here on DLLS. All right. Sean's got a smile on his face.
Uh-oh.
We can buy an entire show at Mandalay Bay Hotel when we can't get Sam at Hilton in Winnipeg.
Oh, Winnipeg. I'm going to bring up the commissioner that always elicits booze when he comes out to award the
If that
Stanley
was my last
Cup.
comment on the show, everyone, thank you. I will see you all later.
You finally got your microphone fixed. Don't sewer your show's status now. So, Sean, Sam.
Yes.
What did Gary Bettman have to say to you guys last Thursday before Game 5?
He said some things. I will say.
Wow.
I will say the things.
Buds, he said some things.
Yeah, he
Isn't
said
that
some
amazing?
things, and then other around him. Said, I really thought that was the end of the show. No, the big notes is that he did, as Sean said earlier, he kind of basically confirmed without confirming that there will be an outdoor game in Dallas again. Didn't say whether that would be a Winter Classic or Stadium Series or anything specific, but that was kind of expected in Dallas. It was a huge success the first time they did it, so that's good news. Don't know. Maybe we find out tomorrow that that's something that's happening a lot sooner than we maybe thought.
It'll be after our show, I believe, at 4 Eastern. I think it's Eastern time. I have to check. He's speaking in Edmonton ahead of game in the afternoon at Rogers Place. He always does that, sort of the state of the league, and so he likes to announce things like that, Sean.
Yeah, this event is where he announced, I think this was when they officially announced the Four Nations plan last year, was at this media availability right before the Cup final. So,
yeah, there you go. So we may have that have that tomorrow. The other one that I'll bring up that he did not comment on at all was the trial going on in London, Ontario. He didn't kind of confirm whether that would be players would be welcome back or whether there'd be a process. He basically just said, we're not going to comment on this until it's done.
That's not a surprise at all.
No surprise, but it was asked. And then the other one for me was he talked a little bit about the Mavs' plan to move out of the AAC and kind of just said, look, that's their right to do that. They wanted, as we've seen around some of the NBA, they want to go to a new arena that's just theirs. It doesn't affect the Stars. He said, this AAC is a great building. Dallas is a great city for hockey. Basically, either the AAC is going to get some upgrades, which Tom Glardy told us earlier in his little media thing that they need some upgrades, or it's going to be another arena for the Stars only in this area. So those are the ones that I thought were interesting.
Hey, speaking of which, Sean, you were telling me off the air about why the Mavs leaving American Airlines Center and making it a one-tenant building actually affects the NHL
it does impact the Stars in a positive way, because everyone always thinks impact and they worry about teams moving and all that crud. The Stars, and I asked Gary Bettman this in the availability, is if the Mavericks leave the building and all of a sudden now when there's a concert there, something else, what does that change for hockey-related revenue? Because buildings are part of hockey-related revenue. So all of a sudden, if the Stars are the sole individual tenant and they have a hand in running the building like they do, the revenue for the Stars goes up, and therefore the revenue for the league also goes up, and therefore the salary cap could also go up because hockey-related revenue is related to that. So it is we're getting more and more to teams wanting their own buildings so they can drive up and make more money. Right now, if you go to the AAC for a concert and you buy how much it costs to park there now, $45 or whatever it is, that revenue gets split between the Stars and the Mavericks, basically. So if you're all of a sudden, that's a lot of money going just into the Stars' pockets that they no longer have to share. And from a team perspective, Tom Glardy is a rich man who gets richer and the league gets richer. So it is definitely the Stars aren't saying the part where they want to drive the Mavs out, but I'm sure behind closed doors, they aren't crying about looking at the checkbooks and the times like that. And also, after we had that conversation, I did a little bit other digging, and this will make Sam excited. I have heard that I have actually heard this, that if the Stars if they no longer have the Mavericks to worry about in their building, and after hosting the U18s like they did this year, it does make Dallas a very viable Frozen Four bid. So I know that will make Sam very happy. So that's interesting. That's something that comes into play as well. So
go Gophers.
Hey, a question about what you just said about the building and the Stars actively almost wanting them to leave now. Is that a change in Stars front office and ownership feelings compared to the time where they might have felt that they didn't want that they wanted to share the costs of renovating the AAC and they didn't want to lose their building partner?
I mean, I don't think it's ever changed. I think Tom Gaglardi is he owns the land right next to the AAC. Everyone kind of tends to forget that. He owns the parking lot right there, and he's a man who, what is his main business? Hotels. You're going to tell me that if somehow there's not
changing on the fly.
They are. Sean can't see that though.
I think John had to go to the bathroom.
Can't see that.
Hey, Sean, I just want to let you know our producers are changing on the fly.
I now have 3 producers.
Now we got 3 people
None
back
of their
there.
names are John.
Well, well done. If none of
Put your camera on.
If
Man,
we don't
talk
have
about the boss just carving John on air.
If we don't have a
Sounds like the
a
Mando read.
Sandman Hotel or whatever it's called, I'm just talking over you now, Owen. If we don't have a Sandman Hotel or whatever his luxury brand is next to the AAC within 5 years, I will be stunned. He owns the land right there. They're looking for gaming licenses. Tom Gaglardi's got a really nice setup to make some more money right there.
I mean,
and
Moxie's is like a good 10-minute walk right now, so they could really
They could put another one right by the rink.
Decrease the walking distance by
Good
putting
thing
it right
John
there.
didn't have to go all the way to Moxie's just now.
Well, he hasn't made it back yet, has he? Poor guy. Anything else from the
Moxie's.
commissioner?
Okay. We're going to deal with Moxie's now, too?
No.
We should.
That's Gaglardi.
So anything else that Gary said to either of you that was notable? I mean, you don't have to force it. We have plenty of other things to talk about.
The other thing
Sean's not done yet.
Yeah, well, I am not done. You're right, lads. One of the other funny things about this is I always like when Gary Bettman gets asked about the state tax deal because it's always, oh my God, teams with state taxes have advantage. And as Gary put it, and I don't agree with Gary Bettman on many things, but I do agree with him, is this was not a problem 15 years ago. This wasn't a problem when teams were bad. It only became a problem when teams got good. So that's I don't think that's. I think it's such an overblown NHL thing too, because every market has their advantages. You just have to be smart about using them. The Seattle Kraken don't have state income tax. Are we worried about them right now?
Oh, hey, one thing I actually will say is that he was asked about LTIR and the usage of it and teams kind of exposing it a little bit. And he said...
Yeah, it's a loophole that they found.
He basically said 2 things. He said, one, right now they have a system in place that according to him, processes whether those things are real. And he looks at it and make sure that people aren't using
Meaning
it too
real
much.
Injuries.
Real injuries, real
yeah.
situations. And he also said, again, another one of his little hints that he doesn't actually answer, he said that there are conversations in place to look at it, and they are fully aware. But what they want to get first and foremost is all of the information. So I just thought that was interesting that is on the table on the highest level,
And
because
that's
I
a
know
CBA thing.
Yeah, because I know that fans and teams are mad at one certain team, Vegas, for what they've done in the past.
They didn't even start it.
No, but they were the best at it.
Yes. But then the Stars did it this year, no big deal. Real quick, guys, before we sign off today, a big notice to the Texas Stars. Alex Petrovic went down and played last night, and they won Game 3 in Cedar Park. They had special teams galore, Sam, as they beat Abbotsford to get on the board. They trailed 2-1 in the best of 7 Western Conference final.
Yeah, Blumel, what did he have? He had 2, I think.
He had a power play goal, and then like a minute and a half later scored a shorthanded goal.
I love that guy as a player. I hope he finds his way to this team next year. But yeah, they got and it's weird in the AHL is where they do 2-3-2, right? So there's 3 games in a row here in not here, but down in Cedar Park. So they got a chance to win a couple and get back in the series.
By the way, only 1 even strength goal of the 7 in the game. There were 4 power play goals. Texas scored 2 shorthanded goals, including Michael Caro in the 3rd period. R2 Huru, which John does not have that drop nearby.
John who?
Had
John's
a couple
not
assists.
even here.
Well, I think John's had a few drops by
But that's a big one. And oh boy, here comes Sean.
Do we have the toilet sound? Can
Don't
we
worry,
get
John.
Nobody
John,
knows.
don't worry. You leaving was not at all publicly put on the
Nobody
show.
knows until
Nobody
that.
noticed.
Oh, just sewer the poor guy.
What are those sounds you always use for Sam?
Oh, the destroyer of toilets.
He's got a flush. He's got a
I
toilet
would think
flush.
that would be appropriate right now.
I believe we only had those on. I do feel 10 pounds lighter.
Mando.
Hey, John, how was that Wendy's shake you scarf down?
Another
by the way?
benefit to the Wendy's Pop-Tart Frosty.
He used his drop once. They couldn't hear it, but John definitely got the Grundle drop in.
We do.
So interesting to see.
Spicy nuggets in the chocolate Frosty. That's life.
I don't know if I can pull this back to the Texas
I
Stars.
do nugget. I dip it fries, chicken, burgers. Everything goes into the Frosty. Oh yeah.
So
You should have seen post surgery.
It's the double.
Post surgery.
The double cheeseburger with tomato only. That's the way to go.
Tomato only.
Game 4 for Texas is tomorrow night. We'll keep an eye on that. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final is tomorrow night. On tomorrow's show, Sean will be here. We're going to talk about the Stanley Cup Final and the matchup a little bit as we get ready for Panthers versus Oilers up in Edmonton.
Sean, good stuff. That was fun today.
For all that, for John, and big thank you to our sponsor, Wendy's, for the free Frosties today.
Yes.
Especially John, because
thanks
he really enjoyed it.
We get Lactate
For
as a sponsor.
For Sam, I'm Owen. He's Sean. We'll see you tomorrow, 2 o'clock. Thank you to Bud Light and Happiest Hour, our presenting sponsors on the DLS Stars podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.